Anesha Murnane was a 38-year-old teacher from Homer, Alaska. After teaching just about everywhere in the world, she returned to Homer, Alaska, near family and friends. Then on October 17th of 2019, Anesha disappeared on the way to a doctor's appointment. While the person responsible for her disappearance and murder was arrested, the whereabouts of Anesha's body remain unknown. This is the case of Anesha Murnane. Hey everybody, welcome to Crime on the Record. My name is Jason.
And I'm Candace.
And this week we're going to talk about a case that has been solved. The trial has not happened yet, but the what happened we know, but where she is we don't. So it's one of those hybrid cases, I guess, for us, because normally we talk more missing persons and unsolved. This one's solved, just not completely.
Gotcha.
So the victim's name, her name is Anesha Murnane. She goes by Duffy. That's what her family calls her. I'm not sure why, but who knows how nicknames get started, especially when you're talking about family.
Yeah.
She was born on August 12th, 1981 in Homer, Alaska. You know exactly where that's at, right, babe?
Not a clue. I know it's cold.
Yeah, right. Yeah, very cold. Yeah. She was 38 at the time of her disappearance. She had a master's degree in education, and she did a lot with it. Because she spent time teaching in Honduras, Australia, and then also Seattle before she moved back to Homer, Alaska. So that's somebody who's doing something with their degree. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She moved back to Homer because she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and it was one of those things where it was so bad that she ended up having to move into the Maintree supportive living center. Just like, because I guess with bipolar, it just hits you at different times, right?
Yeah, there's certain stuff that people have to watch for that triggers them. Like if you're not getting enough sleep, you can have a manic episode. Having a lot of stress on you can cause a manic episode. Things like that. But some people cycle faster than others. So I imagine if she had to be in a living facility, she was probably cycling from depressive and manic pretty quickly and having really low lows and really wild highs.
Yeah. She was taking medication, and her family, they talked about how it was helping and she was getting better, but she still needed that support, which is why she was living where she was living. Because bipolar can be kind of debilitating for some. And apparently that was her situation. Yeah. So she was last seen on October 17th of 2019. Her security camera at her apartment caught her walking around 12:15 towards a doctor's appointment that she had at 1 o'clock. It was about a mile away. And she didn't have a car, so it was pretty normal for her to walk everywhere. But she never arrived at her doctor's appointment. Now, like we're saying, Anesha was living in this supported living housing community, whatever you want to call it, but she was kind of independent as well. It's not like somebody had to watch her 24/7, because she went missing on the 17th of October, and her family reported her missing on the 19th, so a couple days later, which is about, it's kind of normal.
Yeah.
If I went missing, it would take a few days before somebody other than you would notice that I'm gone.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure how long it would take, because my mom's kind of like, I haven't talked to her in a week or so, and then when I finally say hello, she's like, "Oh, stranger, who is this?" Acting like she acts like phone calls don't go both ways. So
yeah, that's
I may never
guilt.
be right. I may never be reported missing.
Oh yeah, my mom does that. She calls and says, "This is your mom, that woman you used to know." I'm like, "Really, mother?"
Right. Yeah, and they act like they don't know how to text or anything else to us.
Yeah.
But it was actually an employee at Maintree Apartments that reported her missing. They filed a missing persons report, and police, they didn't wait around. They came out and started the investigation immediately, probably because it had already been a couple of days, and then also because of her being a vulnerable adult. So they came out, and they searched, obviously, patrol car. They searched on foot. They used a canine, And the canine was able to track her scent from the apartment complex down the road towards her doctor's appointment. And then eventually the scent just stopped. So police were thinking that at that point is where she either got into a vehicle willingly or was put into a vehicle, against her
Yeah.
will. But I think it's important. We're talking about like the main strip on this city. And I mean, it's not New York City, but I mean, it's the main strip. It's
Yeah.
12 o'clock in the afternoon. Nobody saw anybody stuffing her into a car. So most likely she knew who it was, because her parents were also saying that she would never get into a car with somebody that she doesn't know. Like she would
It
just
sucks they
never
didn't
do that.
it sucks they didn't have, like, cameras around or something if it was, like, a main stretch.
Well, they did. There were plenty of cameras. They just didn't have anything that actually caught what happened.
Oh, of course.
You know, and then of course the thing that always, for me anyway, tells you that this is not going to be a happy ending to a case is no activity on her cell phone, no banking activity whatsoever. She had planned trips to Oregon and to Mexico with her mom. She had plane tickets already bought; those were never used. And she'd also applied for several jobs before she went missing. So, and like we said, this is already solved. We know what happened. But if we were thinking about it from she just went missing, it would kind of be a good indication that maybe self harm wasn't what she was. It wasn't a possibility. I mean, she had everything looking towards the future. June of 2021, they still haven't located Anesha. They still don't know what happened. So her family got a certificate of presumed death. Um, and the jury of 6 said, yeah, she's probably deceased and she was most likely murdered. And it kind of caught her family off guard a little bit, but
Mm.
it's one of those things where they knew that's probably what happened. And then all of a sudden, 6 other random people who don't know anything about their family says, yeah, that's what happened. So it was like a shocking validation is kind of the way that I understood it when I was listening to the family talk about, this certificate of presumed death. I got it's kind of
Yeah.
validated their fears and everything, but there's still no leads, no suspects, no anything. Basically, it was she went missing. They looked for her. Canines lost the scent. That's it. Like for years until April 14th of 2022. Law enforcement they receive an anonymous tip saying Kirby Calderwood was responsible for the homicide. So about a month later, May 5th, they get search warrants and they execute search warrants on his car and his home. Now, sometimes you get a search warrant in a day or so, but he was in Utah at the time. So it's I guess
Yeah.
it's a little more difficult to get a search warrant when you're talking about crossing state lines. So it's been about a month. And in his car, they found a machete and several large knives with dried blood on them, which,
Jeez.
yeah, it's like if this was his only crime, like, where did that blood come from? Because I mean, we're talking a couple years
Mhm.
after it happened, you know?
Yeah.
And then one of the
Who
things that
drives around with a damn machete?
right? Yeah. A machete and several large knives with blood on them. And I don't
Jeez.
know. But this guy, I mean, this guy's who drives around with him. And then one of the things that even if he was trying to say, I didn't have anything to do with it, whatever, they found Duffy's watch, Anisha's watch, in his dresser. So I mean,
Mm.
like you're not gonna get out of that. You're not gonna you're
Yeah.
gonna tell anybody it wasn't me. Like you have her stuff. And
Yeah.
then they also find one of the missing persons flyers that her family were putting up all over. Like he had one of
Oh
those as
my
well.
goodness.
Yeah. So I mean, he's a damn sicko. He really is, and we'll learn some more too. But he's arrested on the 9th of May after they gathered that evidence. And it's later revealed that he was actually identified as a person of interest. It wasn't told to the public that he was, but law enforcement already had him on their radar. He had extensive history of abusive and violent sexual behavior in his past relationships. And like 3 of the 4 previous relationships that he had, all of those women were like, yep, that happened. Yep, yeah, that happened. And he was also, there was somebody that accused him of rape while in the military. So I mean, this is who this guy is. This isn't,
Yeah.
a random thing. Um, on the day of the crime, law enforcement say that he was driving around looking for a victim. And when he saw Anesha, I mean, that's pretty easy. He saw her and she got into the car because, I mean, we're going to find out how they know each other later too, which is also disgusting. But so she gets into his Subaru Forester and he takes her to an unoccupied home. And that's what some articles say unoccupied. What it really was is it was a house that his then girlfriend, it was her parents' house, and they were out of town. So
Oh my Lord.
yeah, so he was actually inside of his girlfriend's parents' house, and he had taken one of the crawl spaces, I guess under the stairs, but just a crawl space, and he had prepared a torture chamber, is what law enforcement was saying. So
Jeez.
he took her into that home, sexually assaulted her, tortured her, and then murdered her. And he ended up wrapping her body in thick plastic and disposed of her in a dumpster that he was able to see from the home of the elderly woman that he was providing care to. So like he did all this and then put Anesha in a dumpster where he could see her. I mean,
Gosh.
it's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
So remember, the anonymous caller is the reason why he was caught. It was Calderwood's third wife that called and reported him. And I guess it's like for me, me being a little sarcastic, I thought, well, that's a good place to be in Utah if you want a third wife. But normally you have three wives at once. This guy, he did it one at a time, so it's a little bit different for him. She told police that he confessed to raping and murdering Anesha. Like, what would go through your head if all of a sudden I was like, hey, a couple years ago, babe, I kind of, sexually assaulted and murdered somebody. It's an unsolved homicide.
I mean, through my head, how fast can I get to a weapon? Because
I
I'm gonna be
mean,
scared at that point. Like, you just told me and I'm the only person that knows.
yeah,
One of us
because it
needs
wasn't
to die.
like, yeah, it wasn't like he told her and then she called the next day. It was a
Yeah.
lot because he told her about it in 2021. She didn't call until 2022. So she
So,
just stuck it out with him for better or for worse. I guess she was very, very adamant on that for better or for worse thing.
okay. I was thinking like his third wife is in like he had been married to. They were divorced. So they were still married at this point.
Yeah, they were still together.
Wow. So it didn't occur to her to like get divorced, turn him in. I mean, wow.
Yeah. But she had also told police that he disposed of her in a dumpster, told police about the Timex watch. So, like, everything she was saying was exactly what law enforcement had seen. So they were like, yep, check,
Yeah.
check, check. So it wasn't like, oh, hey, I'm a psychic and I see Duffy next to water. It's like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
Alaska. There's a lot of water going on there. Now she's like, hey, this is what he did. This is how he did it. And this is the shit that he took from her. So it's
Yeah.
pretty
And I mean,
solid.
how else would you know that if you didn't do it?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So a little more about Calderwood. This guy, he had been, we're talking about, accused of sexual assault by just about every person he had been with, whether girlfriend or wife, they pretty much were all the same page. Um, he he lived in Homer from 2016 until 2021, and like, and this is where it's just like, what is going on? He worked at the assisted living facility that Duffy lived in. Like, he actually worked in her
Oh,
apartment building on this complex that she was living in. He worked inside her building, and like, he used to actually sit down and have lunch with her. It
jeez.
wasn't uncommon for them to be seen just eating together. So I mean, so you got to think she's at this facility where you're supposed to be protected and safe and taken care of, and this is the guy that she ends up running into at this place where she's just there because of bipolar. Like, she's trying to live her
God,
life the best way she can, and she runs into this guy. And it
jeez.
also explains why she got into the car with him. Because, like her mom was saying, she wouldn't get into the car with somebody she didn't know. Well, she did. So, I mean, you're walking to your doctor's appointment, and some random dude pulls over, like, you want to ride? You're like, no. But this guy who you have spent a lot of time with, who you've eaten meals with, he pulls up and says, hey, do you want to ride? It doesn't seem like it's that big a deal.
No,
So
because
she
he
gets in
works
with
at the facility, so you're thinking his entire job function is to help take care of me if I need something, so
it.
he's offering me a ride.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna take it.
So it's just disgusting how somebody can prey upon vulnerable adults. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess it's because it's an easy target, I guess, because he was just going out looking for somebody. So it didn't appear like he had her in mind. It was just he had prepared everything, and then he wanted to do this to somebody. He went out driving and saw her and was like, "Oh, okay, well that's easy enough. I know her. She'll get in the car with me. It won't be a
What's
fight or anything else."
the shocking thing to me is that you hear about people do like men will do this to these random women and then you realize they were married. It's like, what made you marry that woman instead of killing her?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just so odd to me. It's like, I don't know, it's
It
wild.
really is. And like I get it if serial killers marry somebody and they stay with them for 25 years because
Yeah.
it's like, you want that facade. But this guy was like one wife, girlfriend, girlfriend, another wife,
Mhm.
girlfriend, girlfriend, third wife. So I mean, yeah, it is very strange what made him do it then and to her.
I wonder if this was the first time he killed someone.
I don't know. It
I mean,
doesn't
not
feel
the
like it.
last, but
Yeah. It doesn't feel like it because I
yeah.
mean, like he prepared a place and he took a trophy with him, and I mean,
Ugh.
he didn't get caught right away. So I mean, it doesn't seem like it was his first time.
Yeah.
So, but there hasn't been any other missing persons cases or unsolved homicides that have been linked to him, though. That may just mean because they haven't found anybody yet. And so I know what is it, the Devil's Triad or whatever it is. Is that what it's called? The three
The
things that
McDonald tried.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
triad. I didn't know which one it
Yeah.
was. Well, this guy's on it. This dude is on it. He killed small animals as a
Mm.
child, and then he carried that into adulthood. Um, and his ex partners, I guess you can call them, said that he had a huge pornography addiction, and it wasn't normal stuff. Like
Yeah.
you imagine, like what kind of stuff this guy's looking at,
Well,
and
I mean, he's a sadist, so I'm guarantee it's probably women tied up, women being hurt.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah. And then, so the grand jury indicted him on this, and I have some questions for you, and maybe you can help me understand a little bit. But this is what he was indicted on: one count tampering with physical evidence, one count manslaughter, one count first degree sexual assault, two counts kidnapping, three counts second degree murder, and one count first degree murder. Now, I understand why you charge somebody with second degree murder, manslaughter, and first degree, because if you don't get one, maybe you get the other ones. But like he had one victim. So like how do you get three counts of second degree murder if you only murder one person?
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. In fact, I'm seeing if I can find out because I've wondered that so many times and I've never actually stopped to look because it doesn't make any sense to me either.
Yeah, because he was also indicted on two counts of kidnapping.
That's
He-
yeah.
like you can only kidnap her once. So I'm not sure. I don't know.
Oh, okay. It says multiple counts of murder can be charged based on alternative theories. But still,
What's the
it
alternative theory?
says, see, okay, so I could understand if they charge one count manslaughter, one first degree, one second degree, something like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
But three counts of second degree, I wonder if there's three different kinds.
Yeah,
I
that's what I was
wonder
about
if,
to ask. Yeah, if
yeah,
there's like second degree murder is this kind of murder or this kind of murder or this kind of murder, and they're just like,
yeah,
we want to make sure this guy gets convicted on something, which I'm okay with. They can indict him on everything. I don't care what they indict him on. I mean, he did it, so you need to make sure that he goes away. And if he's convicted of all these or just really first degree murder, it's 99 years in prison at the minimum for this guy. I mean, he's not going anywhere. He's still awaiting trial. The trial was supposed to take place this year, but it looks like it's going to be sometime in 2024. And he's being held on $1 million all cash bail. So if he doesn't have $1 million in cash, he ain't leaving. Yeah,
jeez.
yeah.
Well, surely this fool ain't got that kind of money.
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so. Um, but I don't know. Like I said, the
I
trial.
guess it makes sense though, looking at the so many charges that I mean, the prosecution, like, if you know somebody did it, but you don't know exactly what happened, I mean, I feel like they kinda do, but they can't
Mhm.
prove exactly what happened. I guess it would make sense to charge them with every theory, because what if you got in there and the jury was like, "Well, we think he did it, but we don't think it's first degree, so we don't have another thing to charge him with, so," or, "We think it's second degree, but we don't know which one of these, so we can't really charge him with that." So I guess it,
Yeah.
'cause I know when they get the paperwork to go into the jury room, it, like, has the statutes on there, and it
Mhm.
completely lists it out. So, I would imagine by putting all 3 second-degree options on there, then they're able to say, "Oh, okay, well, this doesn't really make sense to me, but this one right here, that's exactly what he did, I think." So, maybe
Yeah.
that?
And I mean, I understand doing that, but it also kind of goes back to my thought that like like jurors should be better. Like we should have a better way, because it's like you don't need people that like I work for a bank. What do I know about the law? It's like when it comes to this, I mean, I know
Yeah.
about some law just based, money laundering stuff. I know that, but I can't apply that to, a homicide case. And then you just take 12 random people who do 12 random different jobs, and you're gonna be like, hey, I need you to interpret the law. Now calm down. I know I went to school for this for like 7 years. I get it. But as a stay-at-home mom, which is a fine profession, you have 0 years experience with law. So I need you to interpret
Okay,
the law and convict this guy the right way.
but playing devil's advocate,
Okay.
we
Let
know
me hear it.
being okay, so we know being in true crime that most of the people that listen to our stuff are heavily into true crime. I mean, there are some people that they just have a family member or a friend or someone in their town go missing, and so they look the case up. But the majority of people are people that are into listening to stories about crime on like a daily, weekly basis. So, how many, you've heard me joke about it 1,000 times. I'm basically a detective. So, what if you get those people in your jury pool and they think they know more than what you know? Or, you know what I mean? So, like, maybe we do need to kind of spell it out for everybody.
I guess. I guess. And I mean, most trials, okay, it's fine. But when you start getting into other ones, um, I just feel like you need a little bit more education, not even intelligence, because I mean, stupid people are ignorant about, about a lot of things, and smart people are as well. So I mean, I just think people need more education on things. For instance,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
say cell phones hitting cell phone towers, and how you can be in one spot and hit a cell phone tower
uh,
that's 30 miles away. Not really, but that's like 10 miles away,
yeah.
but you don't hit one that's a half mile away because there's a mountain in the way. I mean, that's the
But,
kind of stuff that you need to know.
like I was saying, if someone like, I'm gonna say me, but I'm not like this, but like me, who is like basically a detective goes in there, if we already think we know everything, imagine someone who actually does this for a living or is in law for a living. They're probably biased because they probably assume they know everything, and you're not having to spell it out for them. They're probably gonna assume the person's guilty because 'cause they're there. So, I don't know,
Mm.
maybe we do need people from all walks of life. But I do agree, I think they should have to take an IQ test, because if my intelligence is here and yours is here, like, I don't feel like you should be getting to judge me.
No,
Like,
because you're
you're not smart enough to figure this shit out.
well, I mean, whether it's smart or not, it all comes down to it's a jury of my peers. And if you're 30 points lower on the IQ chart than I am, you're not my peer.
Mhm.
Like you probably should be under adult supervision at all times. But I mean, that's not my peer. That's not somebody I want on the jury. I want somebody that's as smart as I am. That way we can make the same assumptions, whether they're right or not. We can be able to make the same ones. But yeah, I don't know. Okay, IQ test, and then you should watch them merge onto an interstate. And if you can't do that successfully, no, you're not allowed in. You're just not allowed in. Because I mean, like
Oh
that's
my
pretty
goodness.
basic, but there's a lot of motherfuckers out there that have no idea how to do it.
That's
So
true, that's true. And, I mean, I guess what I said earlier, you could use what I said, the reverse of that. Like, I said if people like amateurs already think they know everything, then people in the law do. But if amateurs think they know everything, they're kind of scary to be judging, I guess. So,
Yeah,
you
they're
know, that is
scarier.
kind of scary. Yeah. Because I mean,
Yeah.
I get people in therapy all the time that they argue with me. Like they came to see me and they argue and they're like, well, I took a psychology course in abnormal psychology. And I can't tell you how many times I just am like, really? So your course is equal to my entire 2 degrees in psychology.
Yeah, it
Okay.
absolutely is. Yeah.
Why are you here then? But I'm just saying, like, if people say that over having taken a psychology course, I imagine these armchair detectives probably think they have solved the case.
They all have 3 classes towards their unfinished criminal justice degree. They're in there judging shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, I took a corrections class one time, so I know about this, okay? And I've seen CSI.
Right, right. Why don't they have that DNA back yet? They know they only have 42 minutes in commercials. Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Wow. I wish.
But, it's such a sad story, and it's
Yeah.
even worse because her mom, she's battling cancer again, and
Oh,
she's trying to live long enough to see this guy convicted.
oh,
And
bless her heart.
the thing that is really bad is she was in remission, everything was fine, and then this happens to her daughter, and then the cancer comes back with a vengeance, which kind of just, I mean, it's just another part of this tragic story, and it also kind of leads credence to the your your outlook and what's going on with life and how positive or negative you are can affect you from a physical health standpoint. Because I mean, she was
Well,
fine, and then this happened, and now that she's kind of attributing to it all coming back so strong because she was really down, obviously.
we know that when you are super stressed or very depressed, it suppresses your immune system,
Mhm.
which is why
Yeah.
people that are really stressed out, you see them with like stomach pains, headaches, things like that. And people that are depressed, they get sick a lot more than people that are not depressed. I mean,
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
super happy people that are like Mary Poppins, those bitches ain't never getting sick. Like, they're never
Right.
sick.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it does really make you wonder about how much the stress of the situation put on her immune system, and then it couldn't fight that off anymore. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know, but I would imagine that would have a huge effect on her health.
Yeah. I would too. Yeah. And I mean, it may not be what happened, but like I said, she was in remission. She
Mm.
was fine. This happened to her daughter, and now she's trying to fight it off long enough to see this guy convicted.
People shouldn't have to deal with either one of those horrible, gut-wrenching things in life, and she's had to deal with both of them.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. There's an interview out there that it's about 6.5 minutes long, where there's a reporter kind of talking to her, and she's kind of explaining that. I'll put the link out there so everybody can find it, whether it's on YouTube or on our website, cotrpod.com. I'll put it out there if you guys want to listen to that. It's sad. Like it's not a happy feel good interview, obviously, but it kind of
Yeah,
just gives you more insight into her mom and how this has affected her over the years.
I hate that. Well, at least hopefully they get some semblance of justice. I mean, you gotta I don't really know that I believe in closure the way people talk about it,
Yeah,
because I think people it's kinda like when somebody dies, I remember leaving my dad's funeral and everybody else the next day got up and, like, their life went on like you're supposed to be over it, and it's like, but he's still dead. Like, I get
yeah,
that, like, yesterday was, like, the last day for you to have to deal with this because you went to the funeral and you did your part, but, like, I'm still suffering.
mhm,
And, I imagine it's 1,000 times worse when you lose somebody like that, and no amount of putting somebody in prison is gonna fix that.
yeah,
So I don't think the way people think of closure happens, but I hope they get some kind of peace from getting justice.
yeah. Because she does talk about that in the interview where she's saying some days are just gut wrenching, and you're
Yeah.
crying all day. She goes, and then there's some days where I'm happy, I'm in the kitchen. She's like, I'm singing, and then it hits me what
Mm.
happened to my daughter, and it's just, and then the day is terrible. I mean, it's every day. It never goes away. There's no closure. I mean, it might get
Yeah.
easier, but it's never good. It's never closure. It's not like you close the jail cell on this dude for the rest of his life, and then all of a sudden your memory's like, okay, and then you forget everything. It's not how that
Yeah.
works. Yeah.
I mean, I've not had a ton of clients that have dealt with something like this, but I have had a few that have come to therapy because of having someone they knew killed. And they all pretty much say the same thing, that, it's really hard when everyone else moves on. And it's not even just the pain for a lot of these people, it's the anger too.
Yeah.
The anger
Yeah.
that person was so unjustly taken from them. It's a lot to
Yeah.
work through. I really hope this family is talking to somebody, even if it's just like a support group. Like, it doesn't have to be therapy. I know that's not for everybody. I mean, it should be, but it's not. So, but like a support group, or like Al-Anon for like families of victims.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
I
sure
don't know
there's
what that
something
is,
out
but
there.
yeah, gotta
Hopefully,
be.
hopefully they are.
Mm,
So, and hopefully, I mean, it's a horrible reason to try and stay alive for it, I guess. I mean, I'm trying to think of it in my mind, but if that's what she needs, then hopefully this trial will get on and over with. Hopefully he pleads out, really,
yeah,
that, and just takes life in prison without the possibility of parole. And then so she can see that and she doesn't have to relive everything through a trial. And then hopefully she can get to a point where maybe she can get the cancer back in remission.
yeah,
She didn't sound too optimistic, but hopefully that will happen for her.
yeah. Because it is sad to think. I mean, it is nice that she'll hopefully see some kind of justice before she is no longer here, but it's sad to think that she might have to spend the rest of her days dealing with this. She should be able to just live them out peacefully, but
Yeah,
that's
because I
hard.
mean, it's a situation where even like there's all this evidence against this guy. It's clear he did it, but there's still no guarantee that he's going to be convicted. So, I mean,
Yeah,
so you kind of want to see that he's found guilty and he gets the sentence that he deserves, because anything short of that, you don't know what could happen. I mean,
yeah,
people walk every day on things they shouldn't and
yeah.
get put in prison for things they shouldn't. So
Mhm.
I think that's really why she wants to see it.
Yeah, it's sad too. People don't realize all the secondary trauma stuff like this causes. Like, you
Yeah.
think about the victim and maybe even like, the victim if they have kids or a spouse, but you don't think about the siblings and the aunts and uncles and coworkers and
Yeah,
neighbors. And I mean, there's so many people affected by this.
it really is.
And
Yeah.
what about the people that knew him? I mean, they're not like his family. They didn't kill anyone, but they are going to lose a son over this. So he's victimized all of them now.
Well, and the family of the person who did this stuff is always victimized too, because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you raised a murderer. It's like, bitch, you didn't know what your kid was going to be. You just got
Mhm.
lucky they didn't go out there and murder people. I mean,
I mean, there are
like,
some. There are some who have severe trauma
yeah,
or being abused, but yeah, I'm with you. The vast majority, you didn't have any hand in your child becoming that person. It's sad that they blame the families.
right, yeah, because it's their fault. Um,
That's
but
like the Gilgo Beach. Everybody wanted the wife to speak out. Now that she's talking about speaking out, now all of a sudden it's like, well, she had to have been involved. Well, what do you?
right,
I
yeah,
mean, good God, what do you want from this lady?
yeah, and they're like, oh, a hair was found on one of the victims that was hers. She was in on it. No, whatever. You shed like a husky in summer. Like
I
there's
came
hair
out of the
everywhere.
earlier when I came out, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have hair everywhere shedding." I mean, I
Everywhere.
had
Yeah.
hair all over
Yeah.
me.
I feel like wherever I go, you go with me
Yeah.
in DNA. Like there's
Mhm.
always on me. So yeah,
Yeah.
that doesn't really say, oh, hey, she knew about it. No, that's
Yeah.
that's pretty easy to transfer that from the house to the crime scene.
Yeah.
But, but that's it for this episode. I'm gonna keep an eye on it just to make sure that this guy doesn't get anything crazy. Like it reduced down to manslaughter and he gets 6 years or something.
Yeah.
So if you don't hear anything else about this episode and what happened, well, just know he's in prison forever. If you do catch an episode on this, just know some shit went sideways. Um,
Yeah. And you're gonna hear us pissed about it. We're
yeah,
gonna be all
right,
here
yeah,
ranting and raving.
right, yeah, exactly. But guys, hey, before you take off, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button if you are watching on YouTube. If you are listening on a podcast, go out there and give us a review, a rating, and leave a comment out there. But don't put like some bullshit like a 1, I didn't like it. Like, if you don't like it, just move the fuck on. But if you do like it, you can tell us that. We appreciate it.
Or at least tell us why you don't like it.
Right. Yeah. 1, you guys should do da-da-da-da-da. And then we might change. Probably not, but we might.
We'll take it into consideration.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching all the stuff you do. We appreciate it. We'll be back next week with another episode.
Bye.